Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 9th of April 2025. These are the stories that we will try to highlight during the course of the show. We'll begin with the gamut of relations between US and Pakistan. There have been ups and downs, but it seems as if lately there is a trajectory that moves towards the positive side as far as the relations between both sides are concerned. Whether it be the telephonic conversation between Marco Rubio and our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs is concerned, whether it be our Prime Minister who chaired a meeting to discuss the trade tariff and how Pakistan needs to move forward, whether it be our Prime Minister who also expresses Pakistan's desire to work with US President Trump and his administration to strengthen bilateral relations while talking to a US delegation that is here for the Pakistan Mineral Investment Forum. A lot of positive things are happening on the Pakistan-US trajectory. We'll be highlighting many aspects of that in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the climate-predicted heat wave and water shortages, drought-like situation that is being predicted, and how Pakistan needs to cope with that. The Provincial Disaster Management Authority has yesterday warned that the southern Punjab districts are at risk of a severe heat wave in the upcoming days. Not only that, the NDMC has also said that there could be a shortage of water in the coming months because of this heat wave as well. Pakistan has already grappled with many effects of climate change, whether it be in the form of floods in 2022, whether it be in the form of other effects, even such as earthquakes that have grappled Pakistan in the past. Pakistan still continues to be one of the most acceptable countries as far as climate change is concerned, but the world is looking at other options. What options are there as far as Pakistan is concerned? This will be discussed in our second segment. Then we're going to talk about Pakistan International Airlines that has achieved a net profit after a period of 21 years. An operating profit of 9.3 billion rupees, ladies and gentlemen, and a net profit of 26.2 billion rupees after more than 2 decades is what the PIA has given Pakistan, and it is very positive. And in the wake of the privatization of PIA, this also is very positive for all those who want to invest or buy Pakistan International Airlines. Finally, we will be talking about a 1,000-year-old altar that has been found from Mexico's ancient Teotihuacan culture, which has been discovered in the erstwhile Mayan city of Tikal in Guatemala. And this also, gives an insight into what the different rituals or cultures used to be at that time, and makes us understand our past a little better. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment, the gamut of US-Pakistan relations. We've been joined by 3 guests to discuss that in detail in the studios. We've been joined by 2 very competent women. Let me introduce them one by one. On my very right is Naela Chohan. She's a former ambassador and a foreign affairs analyst. Thank you very much, Ambassador Saira, to have joined us. Then we've been joined by Saira Nawaz Abbasi, who's an international affairs expert and a regular on our shows. Thank you very much to have come all the way to the studios as well. We'll also be joined by Michael Kugelman, who's an international political analyst online, to discuss this different aspects of the recent developments as far as US-Pakistan relations are concerned. We'll begin with you, Naela Chohan Sahiba. Our foreign minister talks with Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, as we very well know, is the US Secretary of State. This is the pair's first telephonic conversation. And bilateral relations are discussed, regional security is discussed, economic cooperation is discussed with the US. Trade, investment, counter-terrorism are topics that both the sides are inclined to working towards. How do you view these facets of our bilateral cooperation, of course including minerals as well, and what needs to be done to improve on these in your point of view?
I think this is a very positive development. The telephone conversation is basically a jump start of the relationship, and the encouraging thing is that Mr. Rubio also was agreed to have more focus on trade, because earlier on, if you recall, it was AFPAC, so you were only seen in counter-terrorism context. And we always said that our relationship is much more deeper and deserves more than a transactional, interaction. So it seems that this is a very positive development.
All right, all right. Saira Nawaz, Ishaq Dar Sahab highlights Pakistan's counter-terrorism efforts between 2013 and 2018, and of course, Marco Rubio also expresses appreciation as far as Pakistan's resolve to rid itself of all such elements is concerned. Also, the situation in Afghanistan is discussed between both the sides, and the resolution of the issue of US military equipment that is left behind in the country is also discussed. How, in your point of view, could counter-terrorism cooperation between the US and Pakistan improve the security paradigm of the region vis-a-vis Afghanistan?
First and foremost, I think both states have realized each other's importance in regional politics, particularly, and as their international roles also. Because we have seen that Pakistan's alliance with China and growing closeness with the Russian Federation is a matter of concern for the United States of America. So they have realized that Pakistan is an important state, particularly in addressing the regional issues. Now, there are certain key areas of interest which are convergent between both states. Like you have mentioned, the mineral resources, the Afghanistan as a key factor. Like I said, that the regional issues cannot be sorted out solely by United States of America or its regional allies, India, as we all know. So for the counter-terrorism is another thing, which is an area of convergence between the two states. Then trade and economic ties between two states, because Trump is having a transactional foreign policy approach. So and I would say that US has always had a transactional approach towards Pakistan. So whenever they had their mutual interest or convergence of interest, they were engaging with Pakistan, and whenever it was over, they were like disengaging with Pakistan. But as a matter of fact is that the important thing is that both have realized the importance. And finally, the most important thing is multilateral engagement, the China factor, the Russia factor that I have already discussed. So these international organization which signifies the multi-level governance frameworks.
All right.
So for these, it's very, very important. Pakistan's role is very, very important. Of course, Pakistan could be a resource for the United States, but at the same time, simultaneously, I would see that US should also understand the Pakistan's, geopolitical constraints in which Pakistan has to strike a strategic balancing, which is a very important challenge for Pakistan. So now talking about regional security paradigm, of course, both states need to cooperate with each other on regional security paradigms, particularly the situation in which the TTP has resurgent, the ISIS-K has resurgent.
We'll discuss that in detail with you a bit later in the show, but we've also been joined by Michael Kugelman. Michael Kugelman, as we well know, is an international political analyst. Michael, thank you very much to have joined us. It's been quite a long time since we connected. Anyways, I'd like to understand, you wrote an editorial or an article very recently in a publication in which you talked about the scope that both countries could look upon as far as further strengthening the relationship is concerned. You talk about multilateral settings in Central Asia and deeper trade and connectivity links with that region, and how both the countries could take advantage of that situation. What's your take on that? Could you explain that?
Yeah, it's great to be back here with you. Indeed, I mean, as an analyst, we like to look at what's in the realm of possible, and I think that we need to acknowledge that the U.S.-Pakistan relationship is not going to be one with significant scope for expansion in the second Trump era. But indeed, as you noted in the piece, I do think that it's important to look at possibilities for multilateral cooperation, and I think that Central Asia is a very useful space to look. I mean, as you well know, this is a region that Pakistan for quite some time has sought to expand ties with, particularly through this idea of shifting to a foreign policy focused on geoeconomics with all of the trade and connectivity possibilities in Central Asia. And we've already started to see some concrete efforts through things like this transnational railroad that Pakistan is looking to pursue with Uzbekistan via Afghanistan. And if you look at the U.S. and the Trump administration, it has signaled its support for trade and connectivity and investment opportunities that flow from that. And if you throw in the issue of critical minerals, I mean, on the whole, I argued in the piece that it might be too much to expect the U.S. to be focused on critical minerals in Pakistan. And also, I think that Central Asia is useful, a space for the two to cooperate multilaterally with countries in that region, because India is not as much of a factor. India is a big factor when it comes to U.S. cooperation with other countries on connectivity issues in the Middle East and in Europe. and the eastern parts of Asia. But Central Asia, I think there's a really good opportunity, a sweet spot, as I put it in the piece.
All right. Finally, Michael, I'd like to understand, you said in your article, and I found it very interesting, to privatize the US-Pakistan relationship. You talked about, in that context, the role of the people-to-people contact and how that could further foster better relations between the countries. Which are the sectors that you feel, I mean, you talked about tech, you talked about clean energy, you talked about, development sector as well. What are the other sectors in which you feel Pakistan's private sector or Pakistani diaspora in the US could also contribute?
Right. So when I talk about privatizing the relationship, a number of years ago, Mark Grossman, a senior U.S. official, had a key role in Pakistan policy. He had said that U.S.-Pakistan relations were 90% official, and that's too high. And I think that you can just get so much more done. There's less bureaucracy, so many less obstacles when it comes to private sectors working together, and indeed the diaspora here in the U.S. Trying to contribute. And I do think that the sectors you mentioned, tech and clean energy, are the key ones. I think that those could be potentially high growth spaces in the private sector in Pakistan. And I do think that all of the Pakistani Americans working in those sectors, in Silicon Valley here, and those that are investors in clean energy, they could really play a role by transferring their skills, drawing on their networks, their financial resources, and other things to help move things forward in Pakistan. You could talk about the older, more established sectors like the textile sector, but I think that it's important to think about, the current global economy and how it's run. And obviously issues like tech and clean energy renewables are going to be big drivers of the global economy in coming years. And that's why I identified those sectors. I do think that the diaspora here could play a role in helping Pakistan to an extent, and I hope that happens.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. I know that you were a bit short of time, but I hope next time we'll have a longer discussion on different issues that pertain to the world, to the US and to Pakistan as well. Thank you very much to have joined us. Coming to you, Ambassador Naela Chohan Saiba. When it comes to counter-terrorism efforts, there are real opportunities to strengthen the partnership. We know that Trump has appreciated and welcomed Pakistan's cooperation in finding terrorists that target or threaten Americans. One of the ISKP terrorists that has been handed over to the US led to Donald Trump openly acknowledging Pakistan in that respect. Do you feel this suggests also a possibility of some broader non-kinetic counter-terrorism operations, such as information sharing about TTP, about ISIK, and when you also know that the US is very keen to get its $7 billion worth of arms back?
It is a very important question because it is true that non-kinetic may help us more. The recent unfortunate incidents of the train,
Jafar Express.
Yes, we have to have more intelligence sharing, and USA has high technology in intelligence sharing. You can see that their support in Ukraine helped them a lot with the intelligence sharing. So I think that is one area we can work in. We have always had military to military cooperation. So intelligence sharing is a very doable thing between the two countries to the mutual benefit and interest of the two. So that is one area we should definitely work on. And then also the recent upsurge of terrorist activities in Pakistan, we have to address it. Our forces are working at it, but an added support will facilitate to stymie the problem because this has potential to grow.
Of course, this is potential to grow, as do other facets of our collaboration. Now, speaking of trade, Saira Nawaz Abbasi, our finance minister on Saturday unveiled plans to dispatch a high-level delegation to Washington to discuss the evolving US tariffs regime that could be turned into a win-win situation. And I'll quote him: "You should never let a good crisis go to waste. We are looking at it both as a challenge as well as an opportunity." How big of a challenge and opportunity could this be for fostering Pak-US relations in the trade sector? Secondly, our Prime Minister also, chaired a meeting today to discuss these very trade tariffs, and of course, this was also decided officially to send a high-level delegation, which will include businessmen and exporters to the US in this regard, to have a mutually beneficial course of action for the future. What mutually beneficial future course of action should Pakistan take vis-a-vis the US in the trade sector?
Yes, definitely. Pakistan should not, view this tariff regime as a only threat to Pakistan's interest. Pakistan can transform this into an opportunity also, especially in the time when the other states are getting away from, or kind of in a rage towards the US shift of policy, where Trump regime or Trump administration has said that we will see that what you are going to offer us, and then we will impose tariffs and taxes. So Pakistan can, of course, first of all diversify its own economics and economic opportunities, as well as its foreign policy also. It is the high time. And
the US is one of the biggest markets as far as Pakistan is concerned.
Yes, Pakistan cannot just ignore the US, even if you have the trade and investment with the China, but it is not in a good comparison with the United States of America. So first of all, I think for the diversification, it is very, very important, where Pakistan could enhance its trade portfolios, and Pakistan could also work on the reforms also, because reforms are very, very important. Rather than relying on the low value or the low take goods, Pakistan should now look towards the high value goods and value added goods, in which there are the tech opportunities. Then the Pakistan can hit the niche markets or sectoral approach Pakistan could adopt, where Pakistan must not, this delegation must not having the aid-seeking behavior or aid-seeking approach, which is very, very important, because that would be a negative aspect for the delegation. Rather, Pakistan has a lot of potentials, particularly in the IT sector, surgical goods, agricultural goods, where Pakistan can offer the United States of America, that where both states can collaborate with each other. So like you have been mentioning, the non-kinetic resources or the non-kinetic collaboration, which we call it a non-traditional aspect of the mutual collaboration, is very, very important, along with the traditional security issues. So Pakistan must understand, this delegation must understand that how to to convince them that Pakistan is not only beneficial for the security. So for US should not,
but there are different avenues of interest that could be beneficial for both the US and Pakistan when it comes to this tangent of relations between both the
Pakistan
countries.
could be a good market for the US tech companies, particularly in the IT sector, because Pakistan has English speaking young IT professionals, which are already like working, and it could be enhanced. So I think this delegation should held the negotiation where they can ask for the sector specific concessions and exemptions in taxes, where US also understand that in absence of other markets, Pakistan could be a good market. So yes, we can transform it into an opportunity.
Ambassador Naela Chohan, a US State Department senior official for South and Central Asian Affairs, Eric Meyer, is in Pakistan. He has met with the Prime Minister as well, in which they discussed different avenues of collaboration, including trade investment, counter-terrorism. But he's also here for the Pakistan Mineral Investment Forum. And he expressed the hope that this forum is going to provide equal opportunities for investors, and he talked about how US President Donald Trump had highlighted the importance of minerals and mineral resources many times. He also appreciated the resumption of soybean trade between the US and Pakistan as a welcoming sign, because 4 ships carrying 260,000 tons of soybean have recently arrived in Pakistan. Minerals, soybean trade seem to be avenues that the US is currently interested in. How could Pakistan further, involve the US in these sectors?
I think there is a lot of opportunity, but as Dr. Saira said, we have to do it balancing, because we have a very strong relationship with China, which is also investing in our mining.
True.
And they have also invested in CPEC. So, what is the strategy, the US strategy? We have to look at it carefully. We should not be overwhelmed by this, recent development. We have to take a breath and
be more
analytically pragmatic. Look at the Indians. They have a relation, although they are part of Quad. But they are also having good relations with China. They have strategic partnership with China. They have good relationship with Russia, and yet they are allies of United States. So we should also look at our national interest first.
All right.
If they are coming, it's wonderful. If they are developing relations, but we have a history. So we have seen these ups and downs. So now there should be more thinking, and I think more of introspection on how we want to develop this relationship given the geostrategic developments in the region. So there should be a balancing act, and it should be careful. You have an iron brother also who has invested in thick and thin. So if United States is coming, welcome, but we have to see, and this our leadership has to think it through, where we can advance our relationships with United States without impacting our relationships with other countries.
All right. Finally, Saira, Nawaz, Abbasi, I'd mix two questions in one. Firstly, our Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi Sahab recently said that terrorism is an international issue and global community must work together. And we have talked about counterterrorism earlier in the show, but he also agreed with the acting US Ambassador Natalie Baker to hold a counter-terrorism dialogue in June of 2025, which I feel is a very important development. Secondly, you talked about, we have also discussed different avenues of collaboration. Cryptocurrency, I think, is also a very good aspect, because the Trump administration is embracing cryptocurrency full hand, and we also have taken steps to legalize crypto and have recently established a new crypto council which is being chaired by the finance minister. Are these tangible opportunities also, counter-terrorism and cryptocurrency? I mean, we've talked about economy, but these are sectors that we haven't really delved into as much, to further strengthen our relations wherever we can?
Definitely, I would like to see it in the context that the world is transitioning, and I think the Trump administration and the Trump particularly is also very aware of and very mindful of the fact that the world is in transition. So that is why he is also now, from the security lens, he is trying to see the world from the other lens. Particularly, what fear him the most is the rise of China, and we all know that the rise of China is because of the economic thing. So that is why his approach is more focused on the economic things. And I think coming back to, I'm also going to mix up both. The second thing is that the good thing is basically is that you mentioned the cryptocurrency. I think Pakistan has also understood in trying to align its approaches with the United States interest, and which is very, very important, because Pakistan has also need to align not only with the US foreign policy goals, because of course it's a great power, but also with the global trend that is going to happen. And we have seen in the news, I'm not an economic expert, but I have seen that how much the Trump coin, that the meme coin, and the people who make money out of that. So it is very, very important for Pakistan to transform, align with the global trends, and but very important thing for Pakistan is to bring the structural reforms and changes at the internal level also.
That would also satisfy the US to a large extent, because this is what the US has been asking for in the last couple of months. But I think things are seem to move in the right direction when it comes to the different avenues: cryptocurrency, economy, counter-terrorism, minerals. A lot of positive comments from the US side recently, whether it be Trump as far as counterterrorism is concerned, whether it be Eric Meyer, whether it be Marco Rubio. I think things seem to at least move in the right direction when it comes to this tangent of relations, and we hope and we expect to see much more coming when this delegation will be going to the US. and
Yes,
also
and
in
the
the
good thing is
counter-terrorism.
that Pakistan is swiftly acting upon these things, which is good, I would say.
I think that is a very good step in the right
Yeah.
direction. Thank you very much to both of my guests, Naela Chohan Saiba and Saira Nawaz Abbasi, to have joined us in the studios to discuss this. It's an important matter, it's a delicate matter at the same time, but it's a very important mechanism of strengthening Pakistan as a country in the region as well. And I think, inshallah, with the right measures and with the swift measures, as you said, things will and are moving in the right direction. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns the climate change, how Pakistan is impacted by it, whether it be the form of heat waves or whether it be in the form of lack of water or drought-like situation. In the beginning of the year, we had heard that when the rains hadn't come into Pakistan, that Pakistan might be facing a drought-like situation. That situation still persists to a lesser extent, but it's still there. Adding to that is the heat wave that the Punjab government has recently also talked about, in which it has also advised the different organizations to take the necessary measures, whether it be the education institutions, whether it be the other organizations under the ambit of the Punjab administration. At the same time, the Pakistani organizations that are concerned with this very water scarcity as well, that is the NDMC. It talks about the scant rainfall that has occurred in Pakistan, and it talks about a high possibility of drought in Bahawalpur, Bahawalnagar, Rahim Yar Khan, amongst other states. So this is, remember, just 2 years back, the United Nations in a report had also said exactly the same thing. In 2025, Pakistan might experience a drought-like situation. How should Pakistan move forward under this dual alarming situation of heat waves and a scarcity of water? We've been joined by two guests to discuss that in detail. In the studios, we've been joined after a long hiatus by Sarmad Iqbal, who is a climate change advocate. Thank you very much, Sarmad.
Thank you,
and
Omar.
good to see you after a very, very long time. Online, we've been joined by Afia Salam. She's an environmental journalist. Thank you very much, Afia, to have joined us as well. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. We'll begin with you, Sarmad. The Provincial Disaster Management Authority yesterday warns that the southern Punjab districts are at risk of a severe heat wave in the coming days, temperatures rising from 4 to 7 degrees Celsius. Is this going to be a regular occurrence in Pakistan because of its susceptibility to climate change?
Well, Umar, this is going to be this is not a recurring, it's not a question about will it be a recurring one, it is a recurring one. Since 2015
But
up till now.
Is it going from bad to worse in your point of view?
It is. And it's going to be severe as we move forward, because there's a nexus between development and heat waves or rising temperatures. So as we increase the amount of infrastructure, the emissions of carbon with that will add into the heat component within the global atmosphere, and that's going to raise the temperature. So it's going to be very severe.
But is that the only thing that leads to an increase in temperatures, or are there other factors?
No, there are many other factors, but this is again one of the major factors. The concrete emissions haven't been calculated. We continue to build on the concrete structures. We are not covering them. We are not adopting measures which would reduce the carbon emissions from this segment of
But we have a carbon policy that was introduced very recently.
Yes, we do.
All right. Afia, the PDMA issues instructions to district administrations to deal with any emerging situation as far as the heat wave is concerned. Public awareness campaigns, school education department is also advised to curtail the outdoor activities of children as well. It also says that farmers need to be made aware of the effects of heat wave on crops. Local government should ensure water supply at public places, and banners at bus stands, etc. needs to be also put forward, and the role of media needs to be more robust. Is this enough? More needs to be done in your point of view?
Well, definitely. And I know that the advisories that you're talking about are specific to Punjab, but you come down below Punjab, where I belong to, and this is the province where in 2 years ago, or was it 3.5 or 4 years ago, we had temperatures plus 50 in Nawabshah in April. Then the next year we had temperature above 50 in March. So Sarmad is saying that it is recurring. It is definitely recurring. And I don't think anybody in the climate change and environment fraternity thought it to be any, a freak occurrence. because the Met Department has already documented the fact that the temperature of Pakistan itself has risen over a degree, almost a degree. So it may sounds very insignificant, but it isn't, because that sets into motion a lot of things. Like you've said, that there is chances not just crop failure that is related to the drought warnings, because we haven't really had as much of winter rain as we used to, and the predictions going forward are also not too good. And we have also seen in 2022 that our monsoon region, the geographical placement of the monsoon has also shifted. So it may not necessarily fall within the area where we already have cultivation. But the other problem is that the nutrition value of the crop, the crop yield, is compromised as well. So that is another thing to contend with, because that leads to, already we have poor nutrition within our people, and as well as stunting, poor nutrition leading to stunting. So we have to look at that. As far as heat advisory is concerned, what I'm very concerned about is, okay, yes, it is very important to have this advocacy, communication, awareness raising, etc. But there need to be some very serious policy shifts. I mean, one of the things that you had sent me as a backgrounder is the pointer from PDMA in Punjab, that there should be awareness raising about the heat and management of heat waves at the school gate. There shouldn't be any schools at that time. No, it's not enough just to limit the outdoor activities of children. It is we need to see and seriously see what can be done about changing the holiday cycle. May and June are the hottest months, and usually these holidays start around June, July, August, which actually starts to turn cool. So we need to see if that can be shifted. And obviously, that's a big policy shift. So that is something that educationists should also be talking about. And this is why I don't think that anything to do with climate and environment can only be boxed into one department. It is intersectional, it is intersectoral, and all these stakeholders need to sit together and make these plans, because this is going to keep on happening. One of our very good friends who speaks so much about environment, he says, you are living in the coolest summer of your life and the hottest winter of your life. And haven't we experienced that? There has been no spring. So this has become a pattern which has become very obvious over the past 4 or 5 years. And I think in a country which is straddling the #1 spot on the vulnerability index, the response needs to be commensurate with the level of vulnerability. I'll stop here.
All right. Sarmad, there are very interesting points that have been raised by Afia in this. She talks about intersectoral, intersectional, unboxing of measures that need to be taken. But do these measures need to be curtailed just to the human beings? Because we are an agricultural country. We need our animals as well, as much as we saw how the 2022 floods reaped havoc with our whatever animals we had left, and what under this heat wave, under this certain not disaster-like situation, but a situation that is very cumbersome for lots of people, especially the farmer community. What mechanisms should be evolved by our farmers in order to maybe modernize the whole farming structure to better absorb the effects of heat waves and drought-like situation?
Yeah, Omar, I agree with you that things need to be modernized, upscaled, and lessons should be learned from other countries who have actually brought in technology to help support the consumption of water to certain level, reduce it, and at the same time the crop production increases. However, there's an interconnectedness between heat waves and cropping pattern or food security. As Afia rightly pointed out, the nutritious value has gone down. However, on the other hand, if we're not getting enough rain and then we are getting more of sunlight or heat, the water that we have is going to go scarce and evaporate, ultimately impacting our food security. So yes, definitely we need to look at the food security policy and the intersectionality between climate change and the food security. Then again, we need to look at humans as the center of this whole issue of food security, how it's going to impact the humans, then definitely the animals, then definitely the fauna and flora policy of the country, because it's not just going to impact the food crops, it's going to impact your
Marine
herbal
life.
medicine and medicinal plants, the marine life, the coastal areas, the glaciers melting, the sea level rising. So it requires a,
They have done some artificial glaciers formations, and they said that it is a step in the right direction. Does it help?
I don't know, it's still in the initial phases. We can't be very sure of whether it's going to go positive or negative. But right now evolving that, and we're looking at the results. However, there's no alternate to the natural thing. So I'm sure that the scientists are also looking into that. But the criticality of the issue is that we need to revamp holistically the policy arena that is supporting all the social sectors, the food sector, the infrastructure sector, the veterinary sector. So it's all interconnectedness that we need to review. We can't have policies in isolation.
So in your point of view, this is an emergency-like situation that needs to be
Yes.
handled on an emergency-like basis.
I've been saying it consistently for the past couple of years on your show that we definitely require a revamp of the whole system with regards to upscaling it, not just throwing it away, but increasing or bringing in innovation into our policy making stuff.
All right, fine. Afia, let's talk about the drought-like situation that I have also, submitted some of the data regarding that with you. You were talking about that. The PDMA talks about reduction of rainfall, 38% in Punjab, 62% in Sindh, 52% in Balochistan, and that is going to lead, they say, to a drought-like situation with the prevailing heat wave also that is persistent all over the country. It has also said the farmers need to be informed in advance about water shortage in their areas as well. To add to that is the plight of the people as well. Already it has taken them a long time to come out of the 2022 flood-like situation. How can Pakistan prevent damage? When I talk of Pakistan, I talk about our farming communities. I talk about specifically those who are susceptible to the drought-like situation. How can they be prevented from these pre-existing conditions that are already being highlighted and talked about? How can proper measures be taken to save as much water as possible under the current situation?
Well, it's not just under the current situation. It should have always been there, as a policy, because we waste water. We decry the fact that, oh, we are going to be water scarce, etc. We don't look at the reasons. The water in the system, if equitably shared and sensibly used, can still serve all the purposes that we need water for farming, for industrial use, for household and domestic use. But that has not been done. So what can be done? Of course, there should be modernized, as you yourself said and Sarmad said, that modernized water management techniques. We use the word very loosely, IWRM, Integrated Water Resource Management. But that is key to be able to save our resources for now, judiciously use them, and so to save them for the future. We are a very hot country. We have these open water bodies, and there are so many evaporation losses. Yes, okay, for percolation losses, we've lined the canals, but those lined canals also present their problems. We have seepages, and then you need drainage. So it's a whole conundrum which other countries have, with a lot less water than Pakistan has, they've overcome this issue. So we need some integrated, like I said, it is an intersectional and intersectoral thing. All the agricultural extension departments, the agricultural universities, the arid area agricultural universities, they need to pool their resources. Somehow we are not paying a lot of attention to our think tanks and to our research organizations and academia. They are working on these things. They should be asked, for solutions. They should be made a part of the dialogue. And even the, on the media, I don't see professors coming as much as maybe politicians or maybe people like us who are actually
We
the
do
ones
have
who
you.
go to.
You're here, Sarmad is here, and we are talking about the situation.
I'm not a professor. I'm not an academician who actually can give you a lot more data. Now, I'm a journalist who is interested into these things, and I speak to them and I gain knowledge from them. But coming directly from an academician's point of view, that would carry a lot of weight, and that would give a lot of more added value to the information that is provided. We go to them. We are not the experts. We benefit from their expertise. So I think we've got agricultural departments, we've got universities who are working on these things. Their input should be sought. And as far as water management, we cannot continue to just throw water into the fields. Flood irrigation needs to be weeded out ASAP, or a day before yesterday basis, I would say. I would really, I mean, it actually stresses me out when I travel the country and I see the farms still indulging in flood irrigation. And not just that, in urban areas, there is so much of wastage of water, acres of lawns, and there's so many there, car washes, and people are washing their driveways. I really don't understand why people are not really becoming aware of these things. They need to take matters into their own hands. Not everybody can afford to buy a tanker. And by the way, at a time when there is shortage of water, even the money won't be able to buy us water. I wish, that thing would sink into people's conscience, and they are more diligent in their water use.
Water is a commodity, water is something that needs to be handled with care, and this is what even our elite need to understand under the current circumstances. Thank you very much, Afia, to have joined us. Final question from you, Sarmad. Many of the things that Afia has talked about, I think I totally agree with you, and I'm sure you agree as well. But can Pakistan do all of that on its own? Will it be needing global help? We went to the COPs, nothing concrete happened as far as climate finance or climate action is concerned. We have been highlighting how Pakistan needs X amount of money, but we've had X minus 100 or X divided by 100 as far as that is concerned. Can Pakistan manage on its own? Will it be needing global help in the months and the years to come as far as mitigating the effects of climate change, such as what we are going to encounter?
Well, if you ask my opinion, yes, Pakistan can manage it on its own. We need to dig into our pockets. We need to stop looking at others for the money. What we need to look at others is for the innovation, the technology, and technology transfer, as I've said earlier as well, needs to be streamlined, as well as ease of that technology transfer needs to be made. One of the reason is you can learn from sub-Saharan countries, even the UAE and other countries where their deserts are turning green. They're using efficient means to use water for greening of their lands, which means that they're trying to actually prepare themselves for the worst in the future by taking measures right now. So yes, we need to do that. The second thing is the think tanks, the academicians, the political elite or the political leaders, people who are sympathetic to this issue need to be brought in, and serious conversations need to take place on war footings.
I agree, and I hope the necessary quarters are listening to our conversation. I think we are one of the only for few ones who discuss climate change and the effects of climate change in Pakistan. That needs to be discussed on a war footing and on a very diverse level in order for people to understand the gravity of the situation. Thank you very much, Sarmad, to have joined us and to come off the way. It was a pleasure seeing you. Just stay with us for 2 more minutes until I end the show. Last two stories. Pakistan International Airlines, ladies and gentlemen, has achieved a net profit after a period of 21 years, after 2 decades. 9.3 billion rupees of operating profit and 26.2 billion rupees of net profit after all of this time. These is Bloomberg that is confirming it, is also the board of directors of PIA that have confirmed it. PIA earned 204.16 billion in revenue for 2024, incurred 175 billion in expense, and achieved an operational profit of 9.357 billion rupees and a net profit of 26.2 billion rupees in 2024. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, a 1,000-year-old altar from Mexico's ancient Teotihuacan culture has been discovered in the Mayan city of Tikal in Guatemala. It provides further proof of ties between the two pre-Hispanic societies, and it is a huge discovery for archaeologists because they can better understand what purposes this altar served. I don't want to go into the details of that, but this altar dated to between 400 and 450 AD during the classic Mayan period, which looks like a house in an elite residential complex. And of course, we are always very interested in understanding how our previous generations or cultures used to handle life, and this might be a step in that right direction. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories, segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.